Okay, I'm about to meet someone who really puts the remote in remote worker. This is Isaac.
Hey there.
Is that where you live?
Yeah, this is our home. We built this ourselves.
Well, let's go check it out.
Sure, let's do it. We are in southern Colorado, outside of Durango. This is about 70 acres. It's in the middle of the National Forest, and there's no one else out here but us. Come on in. It's not a huge space, but it's very functional for us. Come take a look around. Some seating area, our bed, and the fireplace.
You lit a fire just for me?
Then you can kind of see there's a good amount of overhead space. Flaps at the top can open up for a skylight.
How long did it take you to assemble all this?
Really, most of it was maybe a week or 2 weeks to build.
And it was just you and your wife doing all of the assembly?
Yeah, that's right.
Far out.
I think that's part of the beauty of this setup is that it's pretty simple to construct and inexpensive.
It's freaking gorgeous out there. No wonder you wanted to wake up to this every morning.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
How long have you actually been living here for?
We've been here for about 5 years. Although this dome we built last year, so every year prior I was living out of a tent. Basically had a cot and a small camping desk with my computer, had a little propane heater and some solar panels and the Starlink for internet.
And is that your dream?
I love being flexible and minimal, and out here we have a lot of options. This property is paid for. We bought the land and we built the dome. We don't have any sort of mortgage or rent, and there's no utility bill. I feel like my stress level is kept low. I'm able to focus on the things that I find important, and I like that. I like not having a lot of distractions.
What do you spend your days on? What keeps you busy?
In general, my schedule's pretty busy with work. I'm a technical product manager at Trilogy. So I'm on their education team. We're building a bunch of pretty cool education apps that use AI. In addition to that, I have a consulting business. We have some entrepreneurial projects. We're building some education apps ourselves. Basically, I have a lot of different projects going.
Do you love it? Do you love what you get to do?
Yeah, my wife and I, we could be retired now if we wanted to, but I'm still working because I enjoy it. I like being involved. You know, AI feels so impactful that I want to be present for that. I can't imagine ever not working.
I feel like it says a lot that you would be living here in this environment and you still feel that way. What are you working on?
For Trilogy, as part of the education team, we're building a few different educational apps using AI. The one that I'm leading in particular is called Magic Academy. We're trying to take the fun of Minecraft and Roblox and bring it to the education space so that you can, as a kid, feel like you're playing a video game, but then you're answering a lot of math questions and learning a lot of math in the process. And so far, it's been very effective.
And your background is in games and toys, right? So you're like the perfect person for a project like that.
Yeah, it's definitely combines a lot of my, what felt like different experiments in the past into a common goal. Working on video games in the past, we had a toy company my wife and I built and ran for a number of years. So thinking like a kid, trying to think about what motivates a kid, what kids find fun, and then also ways to sneak in the broccoli, the good stuff, right?
The vitamins.
The vitamins, yeah.
Yeah, what have you learned about doing that?
With the toy company in particular, I felt like there was a bit of an epiphany around content. The toy we're making was a talking toy, and it had like 1,000 different games and jokes and play pretend stories, and kids would play with it for a long time because there's a lot of content. But just having a lot of content isn't as good as having content that is the best content. And for kids, like their maturity changes, what they find funny changes, what they find challenging changes. So if you can pick content that is the most fun content for a kid based on what the cohort of their similar peers have preferred, then you get really good results.
How do you navigate the need to create something that kids actually love, that they think is cool and they really, really buy into, with the reality that that also needs to contain a little bit of medicine so that that spoonful of sugar has some purpose?
That's a great question. For Magic Academy, we also, I feel like, have a unique strategy on this, which is not trying to make multiplication or addition a game. It's to have a real game that you can play, and then we add in, you have to answer some math questions to recharge or to get an advancement or to speed something up. So in any game you play on your phone, you'll have a lot of those games will have ads. So you can watch an ad and get something 30 minutes faster. In our game, instead of watching ads, you answer a handful of math questions.
Mm-hmm. And because you're integrated with AI, this isn't just going to be the same math question for every kid at that point in the level, right?
Yeah, no, you described that well. The math part of our game is adaptive. So it's constantly assessing your current knowledge and then picking the right content based on kind of the edge of your current knowledge. It'll do remedial work as well. Like it'll figure out through review that you haven't retained some subject that's important. It'll go back to that and cover it. It'll detect when you're struggling. So we have a lot of clues on whether or not something's too hard or too easy or just the right level of difficulty. And when you give a kid the perfect difficulty of content, it's more fun when you're working on stuff that's the right challenge level. That's what our brains are wired to reward us for. In general, the challenge of going through life is like, can you survive? If you have the right level challenge, you're wired to be rewarded for doing the work.
What was your best day on the job so far?
When we first released Magic Academy, we had a beta group and they were all asked to record some early play footage of them playing the game and reacting to it for the first time, sending it in. That was a lot of fun, seeing kids play with the game that we had worked, months to build.
And you've been working for yourself for a really long time, leading companies. It's surprising on some levels that you chose to take a full-time job. What led you to this job?
In this particular job, it's a lot of responsibility. It's a fairly senior role and a leadership role. And it was the opportunity to work on my passions, which are education and AI, in a well-funded environment.
If this takes off, where do you think it could land?
I'm very optimistic about the long-term goal of Magic Academy. It's the kind of environment now where plenty of people would be happy to use as a supplemental educational resource. Like after school, spend half an hour in this game and you'll get, supercharged math results. But eventually, why couldn't this just be your school? Like you log into the game, you play the game for 2 hours a day and you learn all these different subjects that you learn in grade school, but it's adaptive and it knows what you've already learned and it makes it fun because it's a game. And I think it'd be very effective.
How are you measuring success? Like how will you know when it's ready to actually scale in that direction?
We have a lot of metrics that we follow. Probably the most important KPIs are rate of learning progress. We track how quickly you're moving through Common Core standards. We know how many standards are associated with a grade. Right now, the average kid is learning a Common Core standard every 15 minutes, which is really fast. Every 15 minutes of play of the game, not just 15 minutes answering questions, they're mastering a standard, which means at that pace, you could be completing a grade of math every month. Full grade of math.
And this is kids who are spending a good amount of their time just having fun and playing a game. That is staggering. I feel like there is probably no classroom in the world that can actually make that bold claim. Every 15 minutes, a child learns a new concept. That's extraordinary.
Motivation is a huge element. You have some kids that are very academically focused and they get a thrill out of impressing their teachers, impressing their parents, and getting good grades. But that's not every kid. And if you can give every kid a real strong motivation to want to learn, you can get really fast results as a consequence of that.
How important was the social aspect of this job when you were considering the role and making a difference in kids' lives?
It was part of the base requirement for any role I was considering. It had to be something in education and AI. And I love that this is sort of a passion project for the founder of Trilogy. He's investing a lot in education. That's exciting for me that he has that personal goal and there's alignment there. There weren't many jobs that met that criteria that I was considering.
How did you actually find this job?
I can't remember, as a friend or my wife sent me a LinkedIn post, basically just the job listing. And the job listing had a blurb in it, which was talking about one of my favorite books by Neil Stephenson, The Diamond Age. This idea of building the ultimate adaptive learning product for grade school children. And that spoke to me because that's a huge inspiration for me.
How has the job lined up with your expectations as you were reading about it?
Yeah, there's lots of happy surprises that I hadn't anticipated. My peers are really talented. Going through the crossover hiring process, everybody that I work with is really high caliber. And that's fun. It's fun to work with smart people.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? It's one of my favorite things about my job as well. Particularly getting to sit here in Colorado and talk to smart people like you.
But then there's a lot of time that's up to you and when you want to work. And I love having that flexibility, the ability to go take a hike when it's sunny and then go work when it's raining. And
it's amazing to think that you're able to work a 40-hour-a-week remote job from
a completely off-the-grid solar panel setup.
Yeah, I don't have a commute. That helps with the time.
What led you to move out this way?
I don't know, is it maybe the first year of COVID or just being in Austin and feeling stir crazy. We were looking at property really all around the country that had access to public land and a lot of nature. And I like Colorado. I was born in Colorado. I grew up in Colorado. It feels like I'm on vacation every day living out here.
Where were you living before you moved here 4 or 5 years ago?
My wife and I, we have location ADD. This is probably the longest we've been in one spot. Yeah.
I can see why you're staying put here. What led you into toys and education? I wonder if maybe you're a big kid yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Both my parents were teachers. So I was part of the influence, wanting to work in education. And I personally love playing games. Video games was my inspiration to learn how to program. Eventually started working on some games and built a graphics engine and did some consulting. I worked on Online World, massively multiplayer online world, similar to Second Life. We were working on some cool tech. We had the first C# game programming engine, so sort of like Unity nowadays, but even before Unity existed, we built that. I worked on first port of Minecraft for mobile.
Minecraft?
Yeah, so built Minecraft for the iPad and had millions of people download that and pay for it. That was in general, that was a odd project because I was subcontracted by the company that was contracted to build the game. They were scared to share the source code for the game, but they wanted to do a market test to see if it would be effective on mobile. So I basically went and built from scratch without seeing any of the original source code, and it only took a few months. It's not a complicated game.
That is fascinating. I can't believe you basically built Minecraft out of nothing. You're an enigmatic person in the sense that you are living incredibly remotely, and yet you're also deeply embedded in this high-tech world. You've done a lot of very fancy things, and yet you've managed to find the stuff that really makes you tick. You mentioned the connection between education and AI, and of course there's this other component as well, as you're a game master. I find that trifecta really interesting. What do you think is the connection between the topics?
There's a fantastic synergy between education, AI, and games. Kids can accomplish amazing things if they put their mind to it. You can see what kids do in video games like Minecraft with hours and hours of time invested. If they could apply that same level of motivation or dedication to their education, they'd graduate from high school and they'd finish all 12 years of schooling in 4 years or less. So bringing in games and game-like behaviors to education is key because it's ratcheting up the motivation.
What's your motivation through all this?
Education is at the root of a lot of what is wrong with society. And I feel like war and inequities in our world, education is at the root of that. People are more empathetic to each other the more well-educated they are. I think there's more nuance and perspective. The way that I feel like I could have the biggest impact on a future generation is by making high-quality education available to individuals to access without any limitation.
Those are really inspiring words. I could sit here and talk to you for hours and hours and hours, but I may get a little sunburnt because we have some sun coming through the clouds.
Sure.
But thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me, Isaac. You're a very, very interesting person to talk to.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.